Ahmard Vital. Wow, what an inspirational man. He's from the Houston area. Dealt with some tragedy in his life, but has completely turned around. He's a three-time author. He wrote his first book was helping athletes, motivate them, awaken the baller within. And then in 19, he wrote another book, I Am More Than Enough. The story behind it is absolutely incredible. What happened to his father, a veteran, and the changes that happened there. In his latest book, he released 5 Steps to Happiness. He's a very spiritual person. I open up. The first question I ask him are about participation awards. Do all children deserve them? Very interesting topic. I'm not quite sure the origins of it and why we ever had it, but he has very strong opinions on that. He's a very, as I mentioned, very spiritual person. He helps a lot of the youth in his area move forward and really brings them together. His viewpoint on discipline, again, is so unique. So unique. I'm going to say it has to do with values. It's just very, very unique. And you're going to see how his passion is just contagious, completely contagious. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. I'm so glad there's people like Armand out there helping our youth, helping others. It's absolutely wonderful when someone like this gives it back, and you're going to see it. Thanks so much for listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre-diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business that lasted over 25 years? Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission, how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family and their passion and their careers and how it helped them. Our podcast vision, growth through learning from others. Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. And we are here. Ahmard Vital, I am so excited to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time today. What's wrong with all kids getting trophies?
what's what's wrong with what?
All children getting trophies in sporting events.
It's
Or
it could be the downfall of the American society and culture. It's not good. It goes against every part of what life entails, which is delayed gratification, which
Hmm.
is hard work. Um, you you deserve nothing. You earn everything, right? I was raised
Hmm.
that way by both of my fathers. When I used to come home and tell my either one of my dads, "Hey, this isn't fair," and they were just like, "Yeah, life is never going to be fair. It is just, but it's not fair." And
Hmm.
I think we need to get back to the fact and the idea and the culture of fighting for what we want. And I know people get really triggered by the fighting words. It's like, are you advocating violence? Kind of, a little bit, because I do believe that what you want out of life, you have to earn. And there was a time in society where there was no refrigerators. You had to go out and hunt every day, which means if you slayed the biggest buffalo, it's only good for the day. You got to go
Hmm.
out and get another one. And too bad half of it went to waste until, we learned salt and ways to preserve meat. But I mean, at best, what you're talking 2 days before something goes bad. And we need to get back to the hunter gatherer days where we went out and we fought for what we want. We fought for what we want for our families, for our professions, for our ideologies, for our values. We need to get back to that. So participation trophies is a death knell to society because it breeds in young people who end up being people our age who talk about how you're needed to be given something. And that's not only is it not true, it's just not it's not advantageous. And you'll never gain anything from that. Anything that comes to you for free, not only do you not deserve it, you'll never value it because there was no struggle to receive it.
So I don't know what the origins are of that. Some parents were upset that some got awards and others didn't, and their feelings would be hurt. I don't. I coached my daughters when they were young, and I don't remember if there was participation awards or not. I honestly don't. But and another thing may be, Armand, is that maybe some of the kids really worked hard and others didn't, but they still lost. So do they deserve any recognition? Is it a team thing? I mean, is there anything at all? Is there any positive at all for everybody getting an award? Any?
No,
Yeah, there's
no,
not.
no, because um, you're in business. I'm in business.
Certainly.
Sometimes we go out and our best isn't good enough.
Right.
We go out and we prepared for this proposal. We put it out there. We lay the contract out. And we're feeling confident about it, and the corporation looks over and is like, no, we decided to go in another direction. It's like I worked on that for weeks, months,
Mm,
maybe even years, and I didn't get the contract. Okay, you not getting the contract may be what you needed to pay the mortgage. The mortgage company is not going to give you the payment on your house based on your effort. It's going to be based
mm,
on results. And so you don't. Yes, little Johnny man put in all the time in the work, and it's not enough. Sometimes, man, when I was playing sports, I remember sometimes, man. I mean, I'm like laying it all on the line. I'm putting my best practice foot forward. I
mm,
go into the game, I'm feeling confident, and I go against a guy, and he's just demolishing me. And it's just
mm,
like sometimes you just got to just tip your hat and be like, you know what, you got it, right? And there were some guys when I were coming up, running track and things. There were some guys I just couldn't beat. Like my whole career, this guy always got the best of me every
mm,
single time. And it's just like, you know, I it wasn't a lack of practice, it wasn't a lack of ability. That dude just has it. For this particular event, this particular race, he has it. I respect that. I'm obviously not there. I'm winning in other places, but against that guy, maybe he has me, right? We knew that coming up with basketball teams. I mean, for the most part, I mean, there were a couple here and there where he came out, but I mean, did not Brady get the best of Manning most of his career?
mm.
For the most part, yes. There's a whole graveyard of guys Jordan ended their careers, right? When Jordan was in the league, he was getting the wins. There's Knicks players, there's Pistons players. I mean, of course, that was his biggest hurdle was the Pistons. But once he got past the Pistons, it was like game on. There's a bunch of guys who don't have titles now because they played during the years of LeBron and Steph Curry. Like that, there is a bunch of guys who, like, I'm sure those guys are giving their best every day of practice all through the offseason. But you lived at the time of LeBron James and Steph Curry. Here we are. Do they deserve a trophy? Well, they got good contracts, but they didn't get the titles. When
Mm.
those guys were in their prime and playing at their best, nobody got there. What did Steph and LeBron play against you? What, 4 or 5 times? There's a
Sure.
lot of teams that they had to go through to get there, and those teams never got the chance to get to that end game, to that finals appearance, because those two guys were dominating in the East and West respectively. Here we are. So no, there is no understanding. But Joey, it's gotten to the point where we're actually concerned about feelings. And we need to get out of that. I'm not saying feelings don't matter, but when it comes to results, feelings do not matter. You close the deal or you don't. You notice the people who are always labeled as, oh man, I can't get along with that guy. You ever notice most of those guys are extremely successful?
Mm.
The not yes man, the guy who's very disagreeable, the guy who gets under your skin a little bit, but you're just like, man, I can't stand it. But man, that guy closes deals. And I'm not
Mm.
saying that that's a prerequisite to get there. I'm just saying, let's look at the results and let's look at the mindset of what it takes to create certain things. You know, that's all I'm saying. Let's look at the results.
Mm. Now you were pretty much born with a pen in your hand. In 2011, you wrote your first book, "Awaken the Baller Within," and really, really successful. Critically acclaimed, and kind of the guidebook to help athletes at that time. What brought you to that point, Ahmad, to write that book?
That was the first published book I put out.
Mm,
Came
that's
during
right.
a
You had to
very
do one as a kid. Yeah.
tra- came at a very tragic time. I was 29 years old,
Mm,
American dream as they call it. I was 29. I bought my first house, had a very nice vehicle, nearly new. I'm working my job in real estate. I'm doing my thing over here with the Fox stuff. I mean, I'm on TV during the fall. Like, I'm living it up. And at the time, I was like, all right, I'm doing pretty good with myself. Maybe I should go get a relationship. Maybe I should take these things a little bit more serious. And it was going well until it wasn't. I was in this
mm,
house maybe 2 weeks, and the young lady I was with at the time was just like, "This is over," and I'm just like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, "Yeah, this is over," and I was like, "Well, let's talk about it." It's like, "No, there's nothing to talk about." I was like, "Well, if you're going to leave, I feel like I at least need an explanation as to why you're leaving." Nope, it's over. Hung up, and I was just like, mind you, 29 is the first relationship I've leaned in on. I'm like, okay, let's make this work. And boom, it's gone. So I go into a downward spiral. I'm like, how, why, and all of those things. And so after about a week, I remember having a conversation with God. And I was like, man, I'm not really working this thing out called life very well. So how about this? If you wake me up tomorrow, I'll figure some things out and
mm,
I'll go on a new path, on a new calling. And of course, here I am. And so I started leaning in. I hired me a mentor, someone to help bring me through life. I started reading a lot of books. Obviously, I was reading the Bible quite a bit at that time, but I also was reading books like Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, Richest Man in Babylon, those types of books. I'm like, oh, okay. Inspired Destiny by John D. Martini. I just leaned in on all these things, and I was like, wait a minute. So I'm a sports writer who covers, college football recruiting for a living, but I have the spiritual and personal development. Like, how do I work the two of these together? Because I don't want to
mm,
give up one for the other. And so I did what Napoleon Hill did with Think and Grow Rich and wrote Awaken the Baller Within. So I'm looking at top athletes, top football players, and I want to know the mindset. You're making tackles, you're throwing touchdown passes, you're successful. What's the mindset as to why you're successful? Because talent is not enough. Talent only takes you so far. You have to have a mindset. And so I was breaking down what it was taking for these guys, looking at guys and studying guys like Andrew Luck, Russell Shepard, Michael Thomas, a guy named Casey Carrier, Andre Dean. And by the way, all these guys, I think only one of them is still playing. The rest of those guys are successful in life. Shocker
mm,
how that works. They're successful in their families. They're successful in their businesses, successful careers. And so that was where Awaken the Baller Within was birthed out of. And then it ended up being where I evolved as a speaker out of that too, because I have a book. I'm like, okay, I should sell the book. And my mentor was like, if you want to sell books, you should go speak. And I was like, oh, is that how this works? Okay.
mm,
So I sold my first batch of books I sold to a high school out here in Central Houston. He bought 80 copies. And I said, I'll come speak at your team because you bought 80 copies. And I mean, when you're a guy who's first in the game and you sell 80 copies, you think that like, man, you just hit the jackpot. You swear I just
yeah.
signed a contract with IBM or something. And I go out there and I do my keynote or whatever, and I'm all over the place. I'm just, I throw a blazer on with some jeans and I'm just screaming at the sky like I'm screaming in a locker room or something. But that birthed the man who shows up today. And, and obviously I've taken courses, and I would say I've toned some things down, but I haven't, because I've even been more energized now than I ever have been in life. But that's where the birth of all of that happened. Is Awaken the Baller Within was a very pivotal part of my life,
Mm,
because all of my books were written out of tragedy. Now that I think about it,
right.
which I lean in on now. I think that's what creates us. This is why, your earlier question about participation trophies. This is why you don't get masterpieces from participation trophies. You get masterpieces from losses, from failures,
Mm,
getting your teeth kicked in, breaking an ankle, falling out of a tree, right? Losses of any kind, whether it's through divorce, death, whatever. We're born and bred from tragedies, from adversities, from getting burned on multiple deals. I'm sure some of your people can relate to that.
mm,
Like you said, you give your best and it's not enough. It's not even close. and you just like, okay, now what am I supposed to do now? So that's where Awaken the Baller Within came from, and I think it did, really set a foundation for me going forward, and how my career is going since then.
Did you arrive to the book, or did the book arrive to you? Did you make up your mind, I'm going to write a book and this is what it's going to be like, or you just started compiling things you didn't realize and assembled it all into a book?
So I was thinking about doing research,
Hmm.
and I have to credit my guy. His name is Russell Shepard. I think he was an 8-year NFL vet. But I covered his recruitment all through high school. He ended up going to LSU. He played for Tampa Bay, he played for the Giants, played for the 49ers, and I cannot remember the other teams. I think he played for about 4 or 5 teams, and he retired here recently. Very successful guy, has a waste management company here in Houston, and he's rocking it right now. When he came home after his freshman year, he played as a true freshman at LSU. I put together like a list of like 30 questions. And I said, hey, Russ, hey, I just want to do some research. I want to dig a little bit deeper. And so I asked him all these questions about success. Hey, what does leadership mean to you? What does
Hmm.
sacrifice mean to you? What does gratitude mean to you? And, hey, when you're in this situation, what does this look like? And I did this whole interview. We were upstairs. It was during Christmas. He was home for Christmas. I was upstairs in this room while his parents were having a fish fry downstairs. And I had
Hmm.
my recorder open and I'm going and I'm doing all these. And I was just like, it was amazing. The interview went so well. I was like, I wonder if I can do this with like 99 more people.
Hmm.
So I took those answers and I was like, I could do this with more guys. And so then I started compiling all of these different interviews. And I was like, what should I do with this? Oh, maybe I'll write a book. And so then
Hmm.
I wanted to write a book that was for athletes or jocks like myself. I didn't like
Hmm.
to read growing up. Outside of a newspaper and things that I was really interested in, I didn't like to read. So Awaken the Baller Within doesn't have a chapter with more than 12 pages. It's
Hmm.
big print for those who don't like small print. And so I wrote it in a way to where if a guy was feeling some type of way and needed a boost, he could read a couple of pages while waiting in the locker room. That's what I wanted Awaken the Baller Within to be. And so it grew from that. It grew from that first interview with Russell Shepard, whom I care for so deeply. He's a great man. He's doing great things. He's got an amazing family, and it was born because of a guy like him.
And then 8 years later, in 2019, you write your another book, I'm More Than Enough, but this is a little bit more towards kind of, personal growth.
Yes, because and it ties into Awaken the Baller Within because
Mm.
the backdrop for I Am More Than Enough was the fact that Awaken the Baller Within was published. And for the authors out there, they know when your book is published, you get what's called the author copies. They come in early. Publisher sends you, 10, 20 copies. So with my deal, it was beautiful because I actually got 10 hardcover copies through the publisher I first went with. So I had a hard copy I was like, okay, I got these hard copies. These are going to be for the most important people in my life, obviously, father and mother. And so I had a copy for my father ready to go. And I was like, they came in on like I think they came in on like that weekend before. And that Saturday, I was going to take it to my father. And we're going to sit down, father and son, first hard copy book. I got your name in it, ready to go. Well, I turned 33 that same week, and that Wednesday, my father ended up dying out of nowhere, and I didn't even know he was sick to the point where something like that would even occur. And I remember having a conversation with God on the way over there, and I was like, um, I'm not sure what's going on, but only thing I ask for you is for my father to walk out of this hospital. That's all I'm asking for. Now, mind you, I just put a book out. I didn't ask for my first million. I didn't ask for my book to be a bestseller. I said I just want my father to walk out of this hospital. Get there, man. It's full trail of tears. It's it's the Columbia explosion. It's 9/11. It's all that wrapped in one. While I'm looking at the hallways of this hospital, my family's lying there. One of my brothers isn't saying anything. He's scaring me. My mom is just deer in headlights. My sister's just pacing. My other brother, like it's just all these emotions. And so now that my father's down, I'm the oldest son, and so I'm taking on the weight of man of the house, like in real time. And guess what? I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not prepared for this. And so mom's coming up to me. I'm talking to the nurses. I get my family together. I'm just like, look, we need to make sure our father walks out of here. Well, over time, you're looking over there and it's not looking too good. And so what I asked for in that moment wasn't coming to pass. And I remember my mom came up to me and she said, they said it's not looking too good for him. And they said they can keep him alive, but it's going to be on machine only. And she's like, I don't know what to do. And something in me told me that my father was the strongest man I know. Vietnam veteran, just stoic, pragmatic, no excuses,
Mm,
iron fist kind of guy. I said, my dad wouldn't want to be propped up by machines. I said, turn the machine off. Let my father fight. And whatever happens, that's what it's going to be. And that's the way he would want to live. And my dad fought for 4 hours. He stayed alive for 4 more hours. And of course, it was time. And so what was born out of that is I went outside and I'm crying, I'm sweating, I'm pissed off, and I'm screaming at God in the parking lot of of the hospital. And I was just like, did you not hear me? Like, I know you said,
mm,
like, if I ask for something, it's done. So what's up? Like, I'm literally talking to him like it's a adversary across from me in the parking lot. Like, hey, we're supposed to be boys here. Like, what are you doing?
mm, mm.
And I remember, the voice spoke to me and said, I've given you everything you needed, including the man in your life whom is coming home to be with me. But he is going to walk out of this hospital, but he's going to walk out of this hospital as you. All of the values, the integrity, the work ethic, all of these things, he's instilled those into you. So now, why don't you go be the man he and I are calling you to be? He's walking out of there. And so, like, that just hit me like a brick. Like,
Wow.
and so I am more than enough was built on the idea that I didn't think I was enough to continue on with life without my moral barometer not here anymore. And so I took that idea and obviously broke down 3 steps from it. When I looked at it's like when you look in the mirror, what do you see? It's the idea that if you don't see a capable, worthwhile winner, like we need to reset everything. Because when I talk about images, everything, and I am more than enough, it's the idea that you accept everything, all the scars, all the blemishes, all everything, all the bruises. You accept it all. And somebody might be like, some people, there's things that happen in their life that is not their fault. You are absolutely correct. That 7-year-old who's out there, whose mom's on crack and his dad's in jail, it isn't his fault.
Right.
But he has to deal with it. And it's not fair. It's actually pretty unfortunate. But when he looks in the mirror, he still has to deal with the fallout of the mistakes of his father and mother. That's just what it is. I'm not saying that's cool. It's not fair. Because guess what? We're not all dealt the same deck of cards. And life is not fair on some level for every one of us. And so I look at the idea that where it's like, my father's no longer here and I'm having sort of this pity party. Well, it doesn't matter. He's still not here in the physical form. So you deal with it. And so I am more than enough focuses on the idea that you are created with everything you need to be able to succeed. It's just up to you to figure out what that looks like for you. What does success look like for you? You and I right now are both successful. You're successful in one way, I'm successful in another way. There may be some correlation between some things that cross over that we're both successful in. But none of us are made the same. None of us have the same DNA. None of us have the same fingerprint, which means we're not going to get to the finish line in the same way or in the same manner. But we all have success in us. It's just a matter of finding out what that looks like. Again, I'm back to the participation trophies. You have to discover what makes you you
Mm.
and get you to that finish line in the best way possible. And that's where I am more than enough is saying, hey, you know what? Wipe your tears off, but brush off the scars, get the dirt out of your face, and let's go to work because you have what you need to be able to succeed. Now go out there and seek what's needed and make it happen.
As a deeply spiritual person, has your spirituality deepened with these tragedies? When you were younger, were you as spiritual?
Not even close. Not even close. I'll even take it one step further. I've grown more in the last 2.5 years than I have in the last 10.
Mm,
And I'm in my 40s. Um, once when COVID happened and I left the church I was at before and I'm at the church I'm at now, it didn't take me but about 2 Sundays to be like, oh my, this is where I belong.
mm,
Um, Unapologetic, leans in on it, Bible based, just, hey, I'm not here for your excuses. Accountability, where it's not, oh, everyone's a winner, everybody feels good here. Nope. If you're out of line, you're out of line and you need to get back on course. And I was just like, I think I can hang around here a little bit longer. And so I got in with the culture, and being around a lot of the men who are at that church, family men, good, godly, righteous guys, have just has really poured into me in a way. You you ever been somewhere and got a hold of something and you didn't know you needed it, and then when you got it, you're like, oh my goodness, I could have saved 10 years of my life if I would have got
Mm.
this sooner. That's how I felt when I was in there. I was just like, it was like a whole new world. I was baptized in the Baptist church. My mom, when she remarried, I, did the Catholicism as well. I did non-denomination. I did, my religious pathway has been all over the place.
Hmm.
It's like but it all led me to the yearning and the hunger I needed for where I am now. And I'm just like, it's kind of like that better late than never. Like, no, it's not late. It's right on time. It is right where I'm supposed to be. I needed all of those tragedies. I needed all those mistakes in my 20s. I needed all the dropping of the ball in my 30s. I needed to get divorced at this time. I needed to deal with death at this time. All those things had to come together. So when I do find what God is calling me to be, and I'm in this place, and I'm going in and pouring into these young people, I'm just like, hey, I got some receipts. Let me show you a few things so that you don't waste 25 years of your life.
Hmm.
You're still going to make mistakes, but let me put you in a position to where you can get to winning sooner than I got there. And so, no, my faith was broken many a times. And coming up, I always say, like, yeah, I've always had the Bible near me, but it was very dusty early on. It
Hmm.
didn't move much. You open it up here and there or whatever, but it wasn't a regular practice. It wasn't a habit. It wasn't a commitment to it. And so now I'm at a place where it's like, not only is it a commitment, it's etched in stone. You can't do anything with it. It's who I'm becoming. It's who I am, and I'm grateful for the fact that this journey has led me to this place at this time.
It is amazing. You mentioned about 40 years old for men. I think that's a very big number for men. I think before that, I think women perhaps a little younger, they tend to mature just a little bit quicker. But I mean, with men, once you're in your 40s, you really start to understand and move on. I know that was the case for me. Can people, can people be successful and be motivated and walk their line without spirituality, do you feel?
I don't think so.
Hmm.
That's just my opinion. There may be somebody out there who feels otherwise. I don't see how you do it. I don't see how you do it without having uh spirituality, religion. I just don't see it. And I know there's some people out there, religion is so corrupted. Yeah, everything's corrupted. Okay.
Hmm.
I get
Mhm.
that, right? Everyone can take all the spiritual text and twist it and use it for nefarious reasons. But the bottom line is, for me, spirituality, and obviously I'm of the Christian faith and the Bible, and Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I Not only is, for me, the greatest example of everything we're supposed to be doing, but it takes you from a standpoint where it's not about you.
Hmm.
The game of life is not about you. It's about servant leadership, right? Examples of, Jesus raising people from the dead, feeding the 5,000, bringing a group of people together and say, you know what, I'm going to make you someone who's going to be an example for other men to show them the goodness of what's represented here, right? We're called to serve, right? I've recently come up on a quote where it's just like, instead of asking, what can I get? How about asking, whom can I serve?
Hmm.
Right? Take it away from you. You know, you're a man who understands this principle. It's like when you serve the greatest number of people, it's shocker how wealth and prosperity and good things just happen for you. It's not what am I getting? It's like, no, are you providing the greatest level of service to the largest number of people? And those are the people who typically win in life. And
Hmm.
so what does service do? Service is, a gratitude. It's humility, right? And society today does not want you to be humble at all. It's what's about you? What makes you happy? What makes you feel good, right? And it's not about happiness. The game of life is not about happiness. I know somebody's going to be like, oh, well, what is it about? The game of life is about fulfillment.
Hmm.
Fulfillment, not happiness, because fulfillment means there's a trade-off. Means you have to you have to give something. Service is giving of yourself. Service is not about, oh, this is get. No, service is you're pouring out, right? You're pouring out. And on the flip side, your heavenly father pours back into you because you're just like, thank you, God. I have more than enough. I am doing so much out here. Refill my cup. And then you go pour the cup out and pour into more people. And guess what? You come back up and you recharge and you continue giving and you see how this seed time, harvest time continues to work in your life. So no, I do not think that you can make it in this life without spirituality. I do not. If there's a way, I sure have not figured it out because I've tried the other way. I've tried to let me go out and get the most jobs and do all of this stuff and, charge what I need to charge. And it's just like none of those things have worked for me. But the second I hired someone who said, hey, why don't you go out and serve first? Why don't you go out and do for others first? Why don't you look at problems and situations that's going on and come up with a solution to make people's lives better? When that happened, floodgates. Love, prosperity, all the good you could want is coming in. And I'm still taking that lesson on and trying to look at ways to properly do that even right now. But I can tell you right now, it's waking up every morning is the first thing I do is give honor to my Heavenly Father. First thing. Before I check my phone, before I check anything, Instagram, Facebook, text messages, emails, it doesn't matter. Thank you, God, for me having this next breath. Thank you. Without you, I'm nothing. I have nothing. I can be nothing without you. I live, move, and have my being because of you. My resources is because of you. My health is because of you. My family is because of you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This next time, this moment right now is because of you. I'm giving honor and glory to you in this moment every morning. That's part of the routine. There's no way around it. That has to be done. Because to me, my next breath doesn't happen without it.
On the podcast, I always talk about how I started my business in the 90s and I wasn't paying attention to myself, much like yourself. It was just kind of working and working and working, and I was not treating my body well. And I got up to 340 pounds. I think you know the story. The doctor said to me, if you don't lose the weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. And that's all I needed to hear. I knew you talk about being rock bottom and turning around from there. So I just committed to myself. And, within a year and a half, I lost 130 pounds. And when I tell people this story, they always, the weight loss industry is billions of dollars, and everybody thinks it's like a secret or a pill or something. People ask me, how did I lose the weight? And I just say discipline. I got focused, I got disciplined, and I lost the weight. That's it. That's all it took. How does discipline play a role in your life, Ahmard?
Discipline is the thing, and I'm fascinated by weight loss stories. If you don't know, like
Yeah.
I'm a fitness junkie. Like I just love it. I love the idea of weight loss, and like you said, it's not complicated. For one, it's calories in, calories out. Okay, that's just it. It's deposits and withdrawals. That's all. Okay, I know they got all these little things. They got the macros, they got the South Beach, they got the Weight Watchers, they got the calories in, calories out.
Yeah.
Every day, minus 500. At the end of the week, you lose a pound. Not my opinion. It's called science. Let's
Yeah.
not complicate this thing. We're like, well, what about my carbs or whatever? Calories in, calories out. Let's just start there and drink
Yeah.
12 to 14 glasses of water a day
Water.
and get sleep and don't overeat. No, discipline is everything, and it's one of the toughest things to do. But the beautiful thing about discipline is it's a good check system to find out where your values are.
Hmm.
When people say, "Oh, man, I really want to write this book. I'm on my third chapter." How long you been writing it? 7 years.
Hmm.
Do you really want to write a book?
All right.
When people, I have people, I teach fitness classes right now, and there's some people who've been trying to lose the same 20 pounds for like 5 years. I'm like, do you really want to be smaller? Do you really want to get into a new thing? And I have little exercises I do with people to really force them and see where they are on certain things. Because I just got through doing a health session. Check your health account Because I always tell people, why don't you check your health account as often as you check your bank account?
Mm,
Why don't you respect that as much as you respect? Because I guarantee you, somebody's on their app right now checking how much money there is. Because I guarantee you, if that direct deposit doesn't go to your bank account, you're going to freak out and go to your employer. But why don't you do that with your weight loss? Discipline. It comes back to discipline because you have to be at a place where there's got to be an accountability factor. And I shared this with a group recently. I said some of you are not going to lose weight like you're the perfect example, Joey. You're the perfect example. Some of you aren't going to lose the weight until you have the or else conversation.
right.
You said your doctor said if you don't do this, you won't see your daughter graduate. Boom. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on, hold on. Which he's basically saying you don't get this together, you're not going to see her move that tassel from the left to the right. And that hit you because now it hit your soul. Like, not only do I want to see my daughter graduate, I want to see her get married. I want to see my
Husband.
grandchildren. I want all of this.
Yeah.
So now your motivation is immediately kicked into this is an or else moment. This is a burn the ships moment. Some people haven't had that burn the ships moment. That's when discipline kicks in for some people, right? They need that moment, that or else moment. What is the or else? Fill in the blank. Whether it's death, whether it's terminal illness, what is something where life is going to change in a way that is not advantageous for you. Some people need that, unfortunately. But the discipline, see, when you get to that point, discipline is almost automatic because
Mm,
you see because someone has told you that there's a light at the end of the tunnel and you're headed right for it, and it's not the good light, it's the other one, right?
mm.
There's a train coming that's going to run you smooth over, and you need to do something in the moment. So discipline is everything, and if there's one part of American life we need to strengthen, it is discipline. It is discipline. Discipline with your money, discipline with your eating habits, discipline with your focus, discipline with your skills, your craft, just discipline in your daily routine and your planning, right? That's what we need across the board.
Yeah, well said. At one particular point in mind, you gave me chills. I mean, when the doctor said that to me, the other thing is I put myself in this position, right? Nobody else forced food in me. Nobody else said you had to work as hard. Nobody, I did this to myself. So, I'm going to get myself out of it. And I love the analogy, and I've heard you say it before, burn the ships. Of course, that's a metaphor when Queen Isabella sent Cortez to Mexico to get all the gold. He burned all the ships and his crew said, what's going to happen? He said, we're not leaving here until we get what we came for, and we don't have any ships to get back. So we burn the ship. That's a great metaphor as to that's it. We're not moving until we get this done. And I love it. You say check. It's a check of your value systems. That's very unique take on discipline. I've never heard that before, but it really is, because when you look at your value system, you say that discipline is the vehicle in which you're going to arrive at those discipline goals, at those value goals. It's profound. I love it.
Well, and I'll give credit where credit is due. My colleague, Dr. John DeMartini, has a whole study around values, and I've leaned in on that a lot. And some obviously I've adopted some of that into my own or whatever. Because if you want to know what you value, think about what you do without any motivation. No one has to tell you to do certain things, right? You get up, what do you do automatically? You wash, brush your teeth, do this. What take inventory of what you do every day when no one tells you what to do. No motivation is it's automatic. It's just inherent. You just do it, right? That's something you value. You value hygiene, clearly, because you do that every day. Maybe you get up every day and you pour a cup of coffee. You value the idea of having that level of caffeine in your system to get you started. That's part of your day. Maybe the first thing you do is go check your email. Okay, you value whatever's going to be in that email, right? You go, let's just say every morning you wake up, you go kiss your children. You value that moment to go kiss your child in the morning when they wake up. That's something you value. Now, if there's a new habit you want to create, now you need to see, hey, where on the hierarchy chart of my values does this fall?
Hmm.
Do I need someone to lean in on me and tell me I need to do this? Or does it become a habit? There probably was a time when I needed a mentor to tell me, hey, make sure you're reading this. Make sure you're doing this. Make sure you're doing that. Now, me getting up every morning and reading my men's devotional, reading my Bible, praying to my Father is now, it's not a to-do list thing. It is
Mm,
what I'm becoming. And so you could always check you could check where you are by understanding how you move. Like for me, fitness has now become like a thing. Like I'm sitting up, there's days where I'm just like, okay, I have a meeting at 3. I have to be somewhere for 5. Man, can I squeeze 2 miles of a run in between that
mm,
time and get the emails out and finish this contract? And it's like, okay. So I had to finish the contract. I may not be able to get that done, but maybe I can get a mile and a half in. That's that's something that becomes, it's a value to me now. Where I'm trying to squeeze in a workout, even if I just go out there and jog for 30 minutes, I'm like, okay, how many miles does that compute to if I can just get 30 minutes in? I'm committed to that. So you need to check yourself. What are you committed to? What do
mm,
you value? Right? Maybe for some people, they're valuing the bottle. You know what bottle we're talking about. Maybe
right.
they're valuing that carton of, some kind of something, whether it's, smoking, whether it's a pipe, whatever. You value something. Something has you that you value. But the matter is it a plus or a minus to your life?
Mm, mm,
Right? Because we're all unfortunately a slave to something.
mm.
There's something that is a vice to us, meaning if it's taken from us, we sort of lose it. Like, like I think it was about probably 2 months ago, we did a fast at the church, and I went through and did the Daniel fast for 3 days. And I tell you what, there was one of my guys, our youth pastor, was just like, he said, I would rather fast from food altogether than to do the Daniel fast. Because the Daniel fast is basically just things of the earth. It's, fruits, vegetables, but just as is. What I realized is I'm a slave to salt, right? Because you're just eating potatoes, green beans, avocados with no additives, straight from the counter,
Raw.
raw, just boiled with water. And I'm sitting up there eating a thing of potatoes and green beans with no salt, no additives, no nothing. And it's like, this is so bland. And I'm sitting there like, if it wasn't for watermelon and pineapples, I would have literally had no taste of any foods whatsoever.
Yes.
I'm sitting there eating oatmeal with bananas in it. And it's like, that's it. No brown sugar, no other things. It's just raw. You're eating peanuts that are just dry, straight up
Mm.
dry peanuts. And it's just like, and I was like, man, you don't realize how much salt you take in and how
You
much
do.
that's part of your
Yes.
life. And it was a good exercise to know, like, hey, do I have the discipline to not do this? And at that time, because we're talking about from the earth, what else could I not have? I couldn't have my morning coffee. So it was just straight water. And I drink a lot
Mm.
of water, but in the morning, I will have 2 cups of coffee. That's off the table. So now I'm battling with the salt, battling with the coffee. I'm drinking water and eating bland food. And I'm just like, God help me, you know? But it was beautiful because you never want to be a slave to something, right?
Mm.
You always want to have full control, as much control as you can over your sensibilities, over, your emotions, over, your taste buds and anything. Because if those types of things are not in there and you're off kilter or you can't function, that becomes a problem. You need to get a hold of that, get your mind together. So it was a great exercise to go through that. And it let me know where perhaps I can make some changes to where I'm not caught in a situation where if I'm forced to be in this situation, can I survive? Can I thrive? And so now I'm better off, but now at least I know where some of my weaknesses are. And it was beautiful.
Yeah. How can you attack your weaknesses when you don't know where they are, what they are, and you get to discover them that way? And yeah, caffeine's a big one for people. Many can't function without caffeine in the morning. It's a
Yeah,
very big
my father had told me that years ago. I was probably in my mid 20s, and I was like, I was drinking some coffee. He's just like, he's like, I don't drink coffee anymore, and I'm just like, why? He said because I never want to need something to where I can do my job.
Mm,
And I was like, hmm. The beautiful thing is I can do without it. It is a good thing, and even kind of from a health standpoint, it does have some benefits in there for me or whatever. But I do know that if it comes down to it, I can put that cup down at a second's moment. Like if I don't have it, I can still go do a keynote. If I don't have it, I
Mm,
can still go teach class. If I don't have it, I can still write, right? Because if there ever comes a time that something that prohibits me from writing, that's probably when I'll lose it. That will be my burn the ships moment, right?
mm,
Because me with a pen is the greatest gift I was ever given at birth for me,
mm, mm.
and that's the original place. I was asked one time, it's like, if you had your ideal life and could do whatever you wanted, what would it be? I said, me, a beach, notebooks, and unlimited amount of pens to just allow God's goodness to flow through me, and whatever I put on that pad is just whatever. No, just me and my thoughts. That's why I love cruises so much. Sit on the balcony, put a pen and pad. I don't need a phone. I don't need anything. Just this is all I need right here. Just give me that. Give me a journal book. Let me kick my feet up and just look at the water for days. Look at the sunset for days. Look at just nature for days, and just be like, speak to me. What are you what are you downloading into me right now? That would be an ideal life, and I'm going to have that one day. One day, the fruits of my labors will pay off to the point where all I do is just take time, be in the woods, be somewhere in nature, and just have a pen and a pad in my hand. Goodness, I'm almost getting chills thinking about that day coming one of these days. But that is what I would ideally want. Teach, write, speak, mentor. That's it. That's it. No, and of course, exercise 8 times a day. Because if money if money's no longer a factor, like, I'm literally gonna live at a gym. In fact, I might just
Mm.
write in the gym. How about I just build a gym? It's my gym. Invite people through. Hey, just put a love offering in the bucket over there. Get some insurance. Sign a waiver. And I just sitting there and I'm just having a fun time. Did I just create like a life scenario for myself in
You
front of
may
you?
have. You
May
may
have. So
have.
we'll remember this day. You remember when you said this? Like, yeah, Joey, I'm living it. Come on through.
I would love to. I do the same thing as we're talking right now. I write. I write. I write with pens. I enjoy the process. I really really enjoy committing thoughts to paper and with pen. I use different color pens and yeah, I really really enjoy it. Ahmad, what motivates you?
So many things. Obviously, my faith, my spirituality. Honoring my father and mother is huge to me. But what drives me is becoming the man I needed when I was 17. That's where I am now.
Hmm.
Who did I need when I was 17? Right? I needed someone who was not my father's. Not that they weren't an important part, but there's always a part of a young man's life where if he doesn't have an older brother, he needs something in between his father and a sibling. You know,
Interesting.
maybe you're 15, 16, 17, 22 may be too young, 50's too old, late 20s, early 30s, just a guy who's a who's a mentor type, but not so disconnected to where he to culturally you all still have some things in common. Maybe you have some overlap in some music and TV shows to where it's like you're a generation ahead, but you caught the back end of that.
Mm.
And so what drives me is to be that. And it was interesting when one of my members of my council found me for my international opportunities. She had told me, I was, going through, and she was just like, you're such a motivational factor. And she's like, you're what's needed for this next generation. And I was just like, and I was in that flow where it's just like, I'm trying to be hip and cool. Let me wear the t-shirts and the cool stuff, to connect with the kids. And she's like, no, you need to be in this kind of gear, blazer, jeans, loafers, and everything. She's like, you need to be cool, but you need to have it a step up to show them. She's
Mm.
like, this whole, wearing t-shirts everywhere and sweatpants and Crocs. She's like, they need to see something different, something more grown, but still cool. And she's like, you are the perfect person. Because I mean, you got to remember, I was raised by boomers, and I'm basically right at the cuffs, like a very, very, very young Gen X. Like I made the Gen X to millennials cut by like 2 years.
Me
So
too.
I'm right there. I'm right there.
Mhm.
And so we got to, we came up when rotary phones was still a thing. We came up at a
Mm.
time when cell phones weren't even a thing. We came up and saw the bag phones, the big Zach Morris phones, right? We saw the internet unfold in front of us, right? I always jokingly tell people there's two things that lets me know where I am in life. I didn't see a bottle of water. I'm talking about a transportable bottle of water till I got to college, and that was in
Mm.
spring of '98. When I got to college, there were 40 computers in the library, 20 PCs, 20 Macs, and they had internet. That was it.
Mm.
If you wanted internet in your room, there were 30 dedicated lines for the whole campus. So you had to get in on them, and it was straight dial up. If you were on the internet, your phone couldn't ring. I mean, it was just so many trade-offs, right? And so we're in that prime position because we caught a lot of the old school, right? There were still records when we were younger. There were still 8 tracks when we were younger. I remember when CDs came out, and it was just like, this is the coolest thing ever. I can hit a button and go to the particular song I want. Game changer, right? Instead of putting the tape in and got to fast forward and all. Come on, man. So I feel like I'm in a position to where I know enough about the technological end of things because I got my first cell phone when I was 22. Now, obviously, phones are doing so much more than when the first phones came out, but we're not so disconnected to where it's foreign. And so I'm trying to be the one to build that sturdy bridge to the following generations because for me, the way I see it, if we don't build a bridge to the future, we don't have a future,
Mm.
right? If we lose these young men of these generations behind us, we have nothing. We
Mm.
need them, which is why I vehemently stand in the gap when society is telling my young men, you're toxic, quit competing, don't fight each other. And I'm just like, shut up. I want my guys to be tough. I want my guys to be resilient. I want my guys to have grit. I want my guys to get in the dirt. I want them to challenge each other, right? Kind of am I advocating for violence? A little bit, because that's where we're forged through competing with one another in sports, in business, in school, all of these different places. So I want to give them the example of, hey, it's okay to be strong. It's okay to lean in. It's okay to have a value system. It's okay to tell people no when you're not standing for certain things because they want a bunch of yes men in these other generations. And I'm just not here for that. You stand up and say, this is my values. I don't budge from this. These are non-negotiables. I teach my young men that. Here's where the line is. We're not going across this because I'm standing strong on this, on these values. You get to choose those values, but I want you to stand on them and be willing to almost die for what you believe in. Not swaying with the currents. Oh, well, today I'm believing in this, and today I'm okay with this. I'm not saying it's not up for conversation, but you and I know there's certain things that are not up for discussion.
Mm.
There's certain things that you're not willing to negotiate on, right? I'm not. There's certain things I'm absolutely not budging on. There's certain value systems. It's like, hey, it's not so much agree to disagree. I'm not even trying to hear that whatsoever. It goes against everything my father and mother gave me at birth. And I'm not evolving into some new nonsense that I know is not valuable to society.
Mm.
Sorry, we're not here for that. And so that's what drives me every day. And I'm sure you can kind of hear it in my delivery right now because it really burns me to see how they're trying to tell our young men this, tell our young ladies this, and neither one of them, they're both confused and don't know how to live with one another because society is telling both of them to be out of order in the
Mm.
natural order of life. And it's just disgusting to me, man. It really is. And it burns me up because it's like, okay, I'm willing to put what I have on the line to empower the next generation, even if I don't see the full fruits of the labor. That's where
Mm.
I'm at now. Let me create five, six, seven, 100 versions of me to go out and fight these battles. Let me leave that type of legacy. That's that's what drives me each day. That's what wakes me up in the morning. To see strong young men who are going to go out there and build families, build companies, build futures for others, to build a bridge to the generations behind them. You know, I tell my young teen guys, I'm like, look, I am to you, and I want you to go be that to the 7-year-olds in the other ministries around the corner.
Hmm.
You're me to them with them in those ministries. I want that bridge to continue on, and so that's what drives me on a daily basis.
And how do you measure success?
The fruit, the fruit. Definitely from a ministry standpoint, I've been very encouraged lately with the group I'm working with. Uh, when young men are coming to me saying, hey, can I sit down and meeting with you?" And it's interesting because I have obviously I'm in the teen ministry there, young adults, and I've opened up, different. One of my pastor fathers, my mentor, and different people are just like, you have a gift, and I know you do coach, and people pay you to coach. It's like, but I want you to, allot some time each month to doing one-on-ones with young men. And I'm like, I'm game for that. And the beautiful thing is that I've put it out there, and there are young men who are just like, hey, I need an appointment. You know, let's do this. One guy was like, hey man, I'm saving some money, and I'm trying to figure out how I can have more of my savings so that I can have some money for college. And I'm just like, hey, bring me your bank statements, bring me your paycheck stubs, and let's break this down, and let's get you on some automatic payments, and let's get you to let's set some goals financially, whatever, while you're still under the tutelage of your home. Let's get you to the point. Let's get you to where you have 10K by the time you graduate from high school. Let's go ahead
Mm.
and put that. Let's work in reverse and say, okay, what do we need per month to make sure we reach that 10K mark? Another gentleman is like trying to, debate between the college and going into a trade school or going into these different things. I'm lining him up, man. And I love it. I love the idea of sitting across from young men, and it's just like a conveyor belt. Come on, next up, let's do this. 60 minutes, 90 minutes. Let's just rotate them in, and let's put them in a position to be able to win, because I've made all the mistakes you can think of up to this point, especially through that time in my life. But I also got some wins to show you as well. And so I lean in on those types of situations to impart with them. And when they come to me and say, yeah, I got $1,000. Another young man said, I saved me 350. This kid's like 15 years old, and I'm saving money. It's just like, that's good. Another guy's like, yeah, I'm about to go to college, and I got 80% of it paid for. And I'm just like, yeah, because I
Wow.
don't want you to get into debt, right? I don't want you to be straddled with 300K in debt that you'll never be able to pay off with the way the
Hmm.
structure is set up. That's a whole nother conversation for another
Yes,
day.
sir.
But just putting these things in place to where, hey man, I was in the store the other day, and I just felt something come over me, and I just wanted to go over and just, you know, talk to this young kid who was going through something, and I was able to, share with them some positive thoughts. So I'm seeing my young men out there doing the work, right? I'm seeing them take their armor and go out there and fight these battles, right? I always tell them, I was like, come to me, let me pour into you. If I have to leave here every day and get drug out on a gurney or in a wheelbarrow, let me pour everything out to them so you can go out and fight those battles, because you're going in places where I can't be. So the fruit is where I see young men who I know are going to be leading, successful and strong households. That's where my measure comes from. Yes, obviously, I'm a hardcore capitalist. I'm not going to deny that. And obviously I do like to see, monetary value, but because I'm such a person who wants to tithe, I want to give back at a certain level. I'm like, bless me with as much money as I can, so I can go out and just rotate that back out into society
Mm.
or into these young men, to these young kids who need some guidance, who need just a little bit extra, to where it's like, hey man, why can't I invest in 10 young men's small businesses a year? Why not? Why can't I have an extra 100 grand to be able to give 10 guys 10K to start their small businesses? Like, that's a goal of mine. One of my first goals is to donate $1 million, not earn a million, donate 1 million. So what does that mean that I need to be doing? And so I'm trying to put myself in position and put systems in place to be able to do that, to where it's almost like my whole MO is almost on some nonprofit type stuff, to where I'm booking 4 or 5 young men a day and having meetings with them. That would be a life. I'd add that to my book writing side of things, where it's
Mm.
like rotating in young guys who looking to level up in life. I would love to do that. And the more I start leaning in on that, the more I can start to formulate what that looks like and how to be able to generate that. Maybe there's a man out there who's just like, you know what, I love what this man is doing. Let me sit down with you and let's see if we can find a way to invest in what you're doing. Because you're the younger version of what I wanted to do at that time. So let's go ahead and make that happen. Those are the types of things that can come together when you believe in what you're doing and know that what you're doing is going to be valuable for the future.
Ahmard Vital, I mean, your passion is so contagious and so real and genuine. I absolutely love it. I love what you're doing. I want to thank you so much for your time today. You're an inspiration. You truly are. How can we get in touch with you?
Motivational.com is the hub. It's basically my first name, last name.com. Obviously, it's the same thing on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. There's no alias. It's just a Vital. People can find me there. Info at Ahmard Vital is the email if you want to reach out. Man, I'm making a lot of moves. I was actually preparing for. I'm about to hit the road here in the next 48 hours. Like basically right after Easter, I'm on the road, making some things happen. Back at church for Wednesday services and back in for Sundays to be able to teach my teams or whatever. But we are going to be making a lot of moves throughout the country over the next couple of months. Have a mission trip coming up as well. But people can reach out to me through those portals. And for your audience, if they go onto my website and go down to my contact page, for anyone out there who has a young adult teenager who's struggling right now, maybe it's some anxiety, maybe some depression, or maybe it's just, what, you're noticing that he or she is just having too many bad days in a row.
Mm.
Um, I want them to reach out to me and let's set something up for if you put the Joey Pinz podcast in there. Just let me know that you found this message through there. Send me an email and we'll get it set up, or we'll do a 30-minute complimentary discovery call where we can at least just unpack the junk. See if we can deal with that pile that's in the living room. Let's see if we can sort through that and put you on a path to be able to do some things. 30-minute consult for anyone who has that. We can't discard our young people. We can't discard our young men. They are our future. And so if you're dealing with some of that, and there's a lot of that going on, I've looked at the statistics right now. They're pretty gruesome.
Mm.
Depression, suicidation, teenage girls is up out of this world. Young men are losing purpose every single day, and we can't live like this. We can't continue on like this. So if you have that situation going on in your life, do reach out to me. We'll make it work. We'll get you on the schedule, and we'll just make it work. And so um, hopefully you'll take advantage of that. And that's one of many ways to be able to reach out to me. And also, obviously, booknowwhat.com. You can go get a digital copy. My publisher made that available to be able to go download a copy of my new book, Now What? 5 Steps to Get Up and Create the Most of Life. Definitely a book to get you out of the hole you're in and to a level of love, prosperity, and fulfillment. So that's the ways you can reach out to me. And I look forward to hearing from all of your good people.
Absolutely. And it's AHMARD VITAL. That's how it's spelled. I'll certainly have it in the show notes. I want to thank you so much for your time. Again, you're an inspiration. Next time I'm in the Houston area, perhaps we can get a cup of coffee. Thanks so much for your time today.
Man, thank you for having me on. It's been enjoyable.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pin's Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Would you like to financially support the podcast? You can go to our Patreon site. Consider $5, $10, or $20 a month. There's all kind of plans that we have there. There's like a one-time payment. What is this podcast episode worth to you? $25, $50, $100, $500, $1,000, $5,000. You be the judge. You can go to our PayPal account to do that as well. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pin's Discipline Conversations.